The rain hammered against the windows of Maple Creek Diner like tiny fists demanding entry. Inside the warm glow of the small-town restaurant, 62-year-old Benjamin Carter wiped down the last table of what had been another slow Tuesday evening. The diner had been his life for 37 years, passed down from his father who built it with his own hands back in 1952. But lately, the empty seats seemed to multiply faster than the bills piling up on his desk. Benjamin had watched his beloved town of Maple Creek slowly drain away like water through a broken dam. The textile factory that once employed half the town had closed 5 years ago, taking with it the dreams and paychecks of over 800 families. Main Street, once bustling with local shops and laughter, now resembled a mouth with too many missing teeth. His diner, once the heartbeat of the community where farmers gathered for morning coffee and families celebrated birthdays, now struggled to serve 20 customers on a good day. As Benjamin prepared to lock up for the night, a soft tapping echoed from the front door. Through the rain-streaked glass, he could barely make out two figures huddled together under the dim streetlight. His first instinct was to point to the closed sign, but something about their posture made him pause. The smaller figure appeared to be a child, pressed close to what looked like an elderly woman, both of them soaked to the bone. Benjamin unlocked the door and immediately felt his heart sink. Before him stood Rose Thompson, 74 years old with silver hair plastered to her head by the rain, holding the trembling hand of her 8-year-old granddaughter Lily. Benjamin knew Rose from years past when she used to clean houses around town with her late husband Frank. But he hadn't seen her since Frank passed away 2 years ago. Rose's voice barely rose above a whisper as she spoke. She explained how they'd been evicted from their small trailer that morning when she couldn't make the rent after her arthritis made cleaning impossible. They'd spent the day walking around town, too proud to ask for help, until the storm drove them to seek shelter. Lily hadn't eaten since breakfast, and Rose's social security check wouldn't arrive for another week. Without hesitation, Benjamin opened the door wide and ushered them inside. He sat them at his favorite corner booth, the same one where his own children used to do homework after school. Lily's eyes were wide with a mixture of fear and wonder as Benjamin disappeared into the kitchen, returning with 2 steaming bowls of his famous chicken and dumplings, fresh bread, and a tall glass of milk for Lily. As they ate, Rose's hands shook not just from the cold but from embarrassment. She kept apologizing, promising to pay him back somehow, someday. Benjamin simply shook his head and told her that his grandmother used to say kindness was like a bank account you could never overdraw. Lily, meanwhile, began to warm up, shyly telling Benjamin about her stuffed rabbit named Benny that got left behind in the rushed eviction. When they finished eating, Benjamin faced a decision that would change everything. The diner had a small storage room upstairs that he'd been meaning to convert into an office. It wasn't much, but it was warm and dry. He told Rose and Lily they could stay there for the night, maybe longer until they figured things out. Rose's eyes filled with tears as she accepted, her pride finally giving way to gratitude. That night, Benjamin lay awake thinking about his own struggles. The bank had been calling about the diner's mortgage, and he'd been considering selling to a chain restaurant that wanted to tear down the building. But something about having Rose and Lily upstairs made the old place feel alive again, like it had purpose beyond just serving food. The next morning, Benjamin arrived early to find Rose already in the kitchen, having somehow figured out how to work the old coffee machine. She'd also started prep work for the day, her experienced hands moving with practiced efficiency despite her arthritis. Lily sat at the counter doing homework, occasionally helping by folding napkins with the serious concentration only children possess. When the morning regulars started trickling in, they were surprised to find the coffee better than usual and the service more attentive. Rose had a gift for remembering exactly how each customer liked their eggs or coffee, and Lily's bright smile and cheerful good morning seemed to light up even the grumpiest farmers. Word spread quickly through the small town that Benjamin had taken in Rose and Lily, and rather than judgment, it sparked something unexpected. By the end of the week, things began to change in ways Benjamin never could have imagined. Mrs. Patterson brought in a box of clothes that Lily had outgrown. Tom Bradley, the local handyman, showed up with tools and materials to properly fix up the upstairs room, refusing any payment. The Methodist Church organized a clothing drive, and suddenly the diner became a collection point for donations. But the real miracle happened gradually, almost imperceptibly at first. Customers started staying longer, ordering more coffee, bringing their friends. The diner became a place where people gathered not just to eat, but to check on Rose and Lily, to share stories, to feel part of something larger than themselves. Lily's homework corner became an unofficial tutoring spot where retired teachers would help any child who needed it. Rose's presence transformed the entire operation. Her years of managing a household on a tight budget translated perfectly to restaurant management. She negotiated better prices with suppliers, reduced food waste, and somehow made everything run more smoothly. But more than that, she brought warmth and wisdom that customers craved. People started coming just to talk to her, to get her advice, to feel cared for in a way that had been missing from their lives. 3 months later, Benjamin stared at numbers that didn't seem real. The diner was not only breaking even but actually turning a profit for the first time in 2 years. More importantly, it had become the heart of the community again. The evening crowd now included families who came for dinner, teenagers who gathered after school, and elderly folks who treated it like their living room. Lily had blossomed under the attention and care of the entire town. Her grades improved dramatically, and she'd started a small herb garden behind the diner that supplied fresh basil and parsley for the kitchen. She'd also become the unofficial mascot, greeting regulars by name and remembering their favorite orders with remarkable accuracy. The transformation reached its peak when Benjamin received an unexpected visit from a food blogger who'd heard about the diner through social media posts from customers. The resulting article, titled "Maple Creek's Hidden Gem Proves Small Town Heart Still Beats Strong," went viral. Within weeks, people were driving from 3 states away to experience the warmth and authenticity of Maple Creek Diner. But success brought new challenges. Benjamin struggled with the idea of expansion, of changing what had made the place special. It was Rose who provided the wisdom he needed. She reminded him that the magic wasn't in the building or the food, but in the way they made people feel valued and cared for. Growth was fine as long as they never forgot that every customer was somebody's family. The real test came when a major food network wanted to feature the diner in a television special about American small-town resilience. Benjamin worried about exploitation, about turning their genuine story into entertainment. But when he saw how excited Lily was about the possibility of their story inspiring others, and how Rose viewed it as a chance to show that age and circumstances don't define your worth, he agreed. The filming process revealed just how much the community had rallied around the simple act of kindness that started it all. Interviews with customers revealed story after story of how the diner had become their refuge, their gathering place, their reminder that good people still existed. The mayor spoke about how the diner's success had sparked other small businesses to reopen, how Main Street was slowly coming back to life. When the episode aired 6 months later, titled "The Miracle of Maple Creek," it struck a chord with viewers across America. The show highlighted not just the food or the success story, but the fundamental truth that kindness creates ripples we can never fully measure. Letters poured in from people who'd been inspired to help others in their own communities, from restaurant owners who wanted to create similar gathering places, from families who planned road trips just to experience the diner themselves. But perhaps the most meaningful change was in Benjamin himself. The man who'd been ready to sell his family legacy and retire had rediscovered his purpose. He realized that his restaurant was never really about the food, it was about creating a place where people felt they belonged, where kindness was the main ingredient in every meal. A year after that rainy Tuesday night, Benjamin stood in the same spot where he'd once contemplated closing forever. The diner was busier than it had ever been, but more importantly, it was filled with laughter, conversation, and the kind of genuine human connection that had become rare in the modern world. Rose, now his official co-manager, moved through the dining room like a gracious host at a family reunion. Lily, now 9 and confident beyond her years, helped serve weekend brunch while chattering about her plans to become a chef like Benjamin. The storage room upstairs had been transformed into a proper apartment, but Rose and Lily had become so much more than tenants. They'd become family, not just to Benjamin but to the entire town. Their presence had reminded everyone that taking care of each other wasn't just the right thing to do, it was the foundation of what made communities strong. The story of Maple Creek Diner spread far beyond that small town, but its real impact was measured in smaller, quieter ways. In the customer who started volunteering at the local food bank after seeing how Rose's life had been transformed. In the businessman who decided not to foreclose on a struggling family farm after witnessing the community support at the diner. In the dozens of acts of kindness that rippled outward like stones thrown into still water. Benjamin often thought about that moment when he'd almost turned away from his door, when he'd almost let worry about his own problems blind him to the needs of others. He realized that opening his door to Rose and Lily hadn't just saved them, it had saved him too. It had reminded him that success wasn't measured in dollars and cents, but in the number of lives you touched, the smiles you created, the hope you kindled in others. The true miracle of Maple Creek wasn't just that a struggling restaurant became successful, or that a homeless grandmother and child found a home. The miracle was in the reminder that America's greatest strength had always been its people's capacity for compassion, their willingness to lift each other up, their belief that everyone deserves dignity and a second chance. This story reminds us that kindness isn't just a nice gesture, it's a powerful force that can transform entire communities. Every day, we have opportunities to open our doors, literal and metaphorical, to those who need help. We never know how one small act of compassion might change not just someone else's life, but our own as well. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to Pure Kindness Stories for more inspiring tales of human compassion. Share this story with someone who needs to be reminded that good people still exist, and that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply care about each other. Together, we can create our own miracles, one act of kindness at a time.